Highway injuries and deaths could be cut in half if motorists would use their seatbelts.
They say many who smoke less often actually take in more carcinogens with every puff.
The 1970s were a time of funky fashion, catchy tunes, and some pretty wild trends. But believe it or not, some things in that era wouldn't fly today. From smoking in airplanes to traveling without ID, the 70s had their fair share of practices that are now considered unsafe or outdated. So today, we will explore 20 things in the 1970s we can no longer do.
Before the new law came into force, only about 4 out of every 10 motorists regularly used a seatbelt.
Driving without seatbelts. In the 70s, cruising down the road without strapping on a seatbelt was the norm. In many places, it wasn't even required by law, and some cars still needed to install them. Imagine just hopping in your vehicle and hitting the road without worrying about buckling up. But things have sure changed since then. Now, wearing seatbelts is the law in most places. They're not just for show either. They're proven lifesavers. Modern cars have many fancy safety features to protect us, like airbags and crumple zones, but it was sometimes different. Back then, seatbelts were considered optional. Some people even saw them as uncomfortable or restrictive. But as our understanding of safety improved, so did the laws. Now, you'd be hard-pressed to find a car without seatbelts and someone driving without wearing one. It's a simple habit that can make a difference in an accident. So, next time you buckle up before hitting the road, remember that things weren't always this way, but we're safer now. As we reflect on the days of driving without seatbelts, what was it like to experience entertainment from the comfort of your car?
Only hot, fresh, perfectly seasoned popcorn can satisfy that movie time popcorn craving. So if you like popcorn, you'll really like ours.
Attending drive-in theaters. Going to the drive-in theater was a big deal. It was like having a mini movie theater right in your car. Families and friends would pile into their vehicles, pack snacks, and head to the nearest drive-in for entertainment under the stars. You could watch the latest blockbuster from the comfort of your car without ever having to step inside a traditional theater. But as time went on, things started to change. Indoor movie theaters became popular, offering more giant screens and better sound quality. With the rise of streaming services like Netflix and Hulu, people can watch movies from the comfort of their own homes without ever leaving the couch. Today, there are still a few drive-in theaters around, but they're few and far between. They're more like relics from a bygone era, reminding us of simpler times when watching a movie meant rolling down the car window and tuning into the radio. So, while the drive-in theater might be a thing of the past for most of us, it'll always hold a special place in our memories as a classic American pastime. Traveling without ID. Back then, hopping on a plane was a breeze. You could show up at the airport, buy a ticket, and board the plane without much identification. It was a simpler time for air travel with fewer security checks and procedures. But everything changed after the tragic events of September the 11th of 2001. In the wake of the attacks, airport security was tightened significantly. Now, traveling without proper identification is nearly impossible. You must show your ID multiple times throughout the airport, from check-in to boarding. It's a stark contrast to the carefree days of the 1970s, but it's a necessary change to ensure the safety of passengers and crew. So, next time you're flying, make sure you've got your ID handy. It's a small price to pay for the added security measures that keep us safe in the skies. While traveling without ID was a breeze in the 70s, another widespread practice of smoking indoors also marked the era. How did society transition from accepting smoke-filled rooms to embracing smoke-free public spaces?
How many cigarettes do you smoke a day?
Oh, roughly 20 a day.
Are you worried about getting lung cancer?
No, not particularly.
Smoking indoors. It seemed like everyone was puffing away while indoors. Whether it was at a restaurant, on an airplane, or even in a hospital, smoking was everywhere. But times have changed, and for the better. Nowadays, you need help finding a public place where smoking is allowed indoors. Strict smoking bans have been put into place to protect people from the dangers of secondhand smoke. It's a far cry from the smoky haze that used to hang over restaurants and offices. These days, if you want to light up, you'll have to step outside. It's a minor inconvenience for smokers, but a big win for public health. So the next time you're out and about, take a deep breath of clean, smoke-free air and be thankful for how far we've come since the smoke-filled days of the 70s.
Well, I really like hitchhiking because I don't have a car and that's the only way I can get around.
Hitchhiking. In the 70s, hitchhiking was like a real-life adventure. People would stick out their thumbs by the side of the road, hoping for a friendly driver to pick them up and give them a lift. It was a cheap and spontaneous way to travel, but times have changed. Nowadays, hitchhiking is much less common. Safety concerns have increased, with stories of hitchhikers encountering dangerous situations becoming more prevalent. Additionally, the rise of ride-sharing services like Uber and Lyft have provided a safer alternative for getting around. While hitchhiking might still happen occasionally, it's less prevalent than it once was. Instead, people opt for more secure and reliable transportation options. So while hitchhiking holds nostalgic memories for some, it becomes a relic of the past in today's world of convenient and safer travel alternatives.
As you can probably guess, with Case catalogs, there's going to be a lot of clothing.
Waiting for mailed catalogs. Shopping from the comfort of your own home meant flipping through a catalog that arrived in the mail. These catalogs were like treasure troves, filled with goodies you could order without leaving your living room. Waiting for the latest catalog to arrive was an exciting event, and browsing through its pages was a favorite pastime for many. But with the advent of the internet, shopping has undergone a massive transformation. Online shopping platforms like Amazon and eBay have made finding and purchasing items from the comfort of your home easier. Instead of waiting for a catalog to arrive in the mail, you can simply pull up a website on your computer or phone and start browsing immediately. The rise of online shopping has significantly changed the retail landscape. While mailed catalogs may still exist, they're far from as prevalent as they once were. Today, the convenience of online shopping has made it the go-to option for millions of people worldwide, forever changing how we shop.
Any attempt to restrict drinking and driving here is viewed by some as downright undemocratic.
Drinking and driving without strict penalties. During the 1970s, drinking and driving were unfortunately more common and had fewer consequences. DUI or driving under the influence laws were not as strict, and penalties for getting caught were often lighter. People didn't fully grasp the dangers of driving while intoxicated like we do today. However, over the years, as the awareness of risk involved in drinking and driving increased, so did the penalties. Nowadays, DUI laws are strictly enforced, with severe consequences for those who choose to drive under the influence. Getting caught driving while intoxicated can lead to hefty fines, license suspension, and even jail time in some cases. The change reflects society's commitment to keeping roads safe for everyone. So next time you plan to have a few drinks, have a designated driver, or use alternative transportation like a taxi or a rideshare service. It's a minor inconvenience that can prevent devastating consequences.
If you ask Ma Bell, she'll tell you that San Diego County has about 11,500 coin phones, and another 1,000 come on the line every year.
Using payphones. Payphones were like lifelines when you were out and about. They were everywhere, on street corners, malls, and gas stations. If you needed to call while you were away from home, a payphone was your best bet. However, with the invention and widespread adoption of mobile phones, payphones have become a relic of the past. Nowadays, nearly everyone carries a cell phone in their pocket, making payphones obsolete. You'd be hard-pressed to find a working payphone, as they've largely disappeared from public spaces. This shows how much technology has changed over the years and how we've come to rely on mobile phones for communication. So next time you see a payphone, take a moment to appreciate the role it played in keeping people connected in the pre-cell phone era. Payphones became relics of the past, but how has another form of communication, writing letters, evolved in this digital age? Let's explore the enduring charm and significance of handwritten letters. Writing letters. Writing letters was a cherished way of staying in touch with loved ones back then. People would carefully craft their messages by hand, using pen and paper, and then send them off through the mail. Waiting for a letter to arrive was an exciting experience, and receiving one was even better. However, with the rise of email and messaging apps, handwritten letters have become less common. It's quicker and easier to send a message electronically, and you can communicate with someone instantly, no matter where they are in the world. While handwritten letters may be less common, they still hold a unique charm. There's something magical about receiving a letter in the mail, knowing that someone took the time to write it by hand just for you. So next time you want to brighten someone's day, consider putting pen to paper and sending them a heartfelt letter. Buying vinyl records. Buying vinyl records was the way to enjoy your favorite music. People would browse through record stores, flipping through stacks of albums until they found that perfect one to take home. Vinyl records were cherished for their warm sound and beautiful album work. However, with the rise of digital music and streaming services, vinyl records fell out of favor for a while. Listening to music on CDs, MP3 players, and later streaming platforms like Spotify and Apple Music was more accessible and convenient. However, in recent years, vinyl has become popular among music enthusiasts. Many people appreciate the nostalgic appeal of vinyl records and the tactile experience of playing them on a turntable. While digital music still dominates the market, vinyl has found a niche audience that appreciates its unique charms.
New IBM electronic typewriter, so automatic that while you fold the letter, it types the envelope.
Using typewriters. Typing up documents meant using a typewriter. These clunky machines were a staple in offices and homes, with people using them to write everything from letters to reports. Typewriters required skill and precision, as there was no delete button, because if you made a mistake, you had to start over or use correction tape. However, with the advent of computers and word processors, typewriters became obsolete. Computers offered greater flexibility and efficiency in typing and editing documents. The rise of word processing software, like Microsoft Word, made it easier than ever to create polished documents with just a few clicks. While typewriters may have faded into obscurity, they hold a nostalgic charm for many people. Some still use them for creative purposes or simply to reminisce about a bygone typing era. However, for most, computers and word processors have become the new standard for document creation. As typewriters became relics of the past, another traditional process was also being transformed by technology. What exciting yet time-consuming task was revolutionized by digital innovation, much like typing?
But what does happen to your film then? Sometimes it goes back to the manufacturer, and sometimes it goes to an independent developer like Tudor Processing here in North London.
Developing film. In the 70s, developing film was the only way to see your photos after taking them. People would drop off their film rolls at photo labs and eagerly await the prints. It was exciting, waiting to see how the photos turned out. However, the need for film development has disappeared with the invention of digital cameras and smartphones. You can instantly see your photos on the camera screen or smartphone display. And if you want to print them, you can do so from the comfort of your home with a photo printer or simply upload them to a website for printing. While some still enjoy the nostalgic feel of film photography, digital technology has made capturing and sharing photos more accessible and convenient than ever before. This is a testament to how far photography has come since film development.
Magnavox introduces the only modular solid-state color TV that automatically adjusts its picture to changes in room light.
Watching TV on a schedule. Watching TV meant following a strict schedule. If you wanted to catch your favorite show, you had to be in front of the TV when it aired. Missing an episode meant waiting for a rerun or hoping it would reappear. It was a time when families gathered around the television set at specific times each week to watch their favorite programs together. But with the advent of streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon Prime Video, watching TV on a schedule has become a thing of the past. Now you can watch your favorite shows and movies whenever you want on any device with an internet connection. Streaming services offer unparalleled flexibility and convenience, whether binge watching an entire series in one sitting or catching up on missed episodes at your own pace. The shift in viewing habits has revolutionized how we consume entertainment, giving us greater control over what we watch and when. It's a far cry from the days of being tied to a TV schedule, and it's made for a more personalized and enjoyable viewing experience for audiences everywhere. Families once gathered around the TV at scheduled times, adhering to strict viewing schedules. Another childhood norm was playing outside unsupervised. How did the freedom to roam the neighborhood and explore impact children's lives back then?
Don't accept rides from strangers.
Playing outside unsupervised. Playing outside unsupervised was the norm for many children. They roam the neighborhood, ride bikes, and play games with friends without constant adult supervision. It was a time when kids were free to explore and use their imaginations to create their fun. But in today's world, parenting norms have shifted towards more supervision and structured activities. Concerns about safety and stranger danger have led many parents to keep a closer eye on their children while they play outside. Instead of roaming the neighborhood freely, children are often enrolled in organized sports or activities where adults are present to supervise. While this shift may offer some benefits in terms of safety, it also means that children may have fewer opportunities for unstructured play and exploration. It's a reminder of how childhood experiences have evolved over the years, reflecting changes in society's values and priorities.
If you think all banks have the same deal on 5% checking, Marine Midland says check again.
Writing checks. Writing checks was the primary way people paid for everyday purchases. Whether it was groceries, bills, or a night out, pulling out the checkbook was a common sight. People would carefully fill out the receipt and amount, sign their name, and then hand over the check as payment. It was a slow process, requiring merchants to deposit the checks and wait for them to clear physically. However, with the rise of debit and credit cards and mobile payment apps like Apple Pay and Google Pay, writing checks has become less common. These electronic payment methods offer greater convenience and security, allowing transactions to be completed instantly with a swipe or tap. Today, writing checks is seen as outdated and time-consuming compared to the lightning-fast speed of electronic payments. While some people still use checks for specific transactions, such as paying rent or utility bills, they've largely been replaced by more modern forms of payment. It's a sign of how technology has transformed how we handle our finances, making transactions faster, easier, and more convenient than ever before.
You can see this big dial looks like the one you have on your new telephone.
Using rotary phones. In the 70s, rotary phones were the norm in households worldwide. These iconic phones featured a circular dial with numbered holes, and to make a call, you had to rotate the dial to each number of the phone number you wanted to call. It was a slow and methodical process, but it was all part of the charm of using a rotary phone. But with the introduction of push-button phones in the 1980s and later smartphones, rotary phones have become a thing of the past. Push-button phones offered quicker and more convenient dialing, while smartphones revolutionized communication with texting, internet browsing, and apps. While rotary phones may hold nostalgic value for some, they've largely been replaced by more modern and efficient communication devices. This reminds us of how technology has evolved, profoundly shaping communication. As rotary phones gave way to more modern communication devices, encyclopedias underwent significant transformation. What replaced these hefty volumes as the go-to source for research and learning in the digital age?
It's great stuff on ecosystems. Also, all you need to know about global warming, the greenhouse effect.
Using encyclopedias. Encyclopedias were a valuable resource for research and learning. Families often had a set of encyclopedias at home, which provided information on a wide range of topics, from history and science to literature and geography. When you had a question or needed to do homework, you'd flip through the pages of these hefty books to find the answers. However, with the advent of the internet and online databases, encyclopedias have become obsolete. Now, you can access vast amounts of information with just a few clicks, from reliable sources like Wikipedia to specialized databases for academic research. The convenience and breadth of online information have made encyclopedias a relic of the past. While they may hold nostalgic value for some, they've been replaced by more efficient and up-to-date information access in today's digital age.
You ever notice how winding your window down by hand makes you look lower middle class? There's a cheap way to fix that.
Manual car windows. Rolling down car windows manually was the standard way of letting in fresh air while driving. Drivers and passengers would use a crank handle to lower or raise the windows, which required physical effort but became second nature to anyone behind the wheel. However, with advancements in automotive technology, manual car windows have largely been replaced by power windows in modern vehicles. Power windows are operated with a push of a button, making it much easier and more convenient to adjust the windows while driving. This feature has become standard in most cars, offering drivers and passengers greater control and comfort. While manual car windows may evoke nostalgia for some, power windows have become the new norm, offering a level of convenience that was unimaginable in the past. They're just one example of how technology has transformed the driving experience, making it safer, more comfortable, and more enjoyable for everyone on the road. As drivers adjusted their manual car windows, a familiar daily task, they often reach for the morning paper to catch up on the latest news.
I fell in love with you the first time I looked into their eyes.
Reading newspapers. Back then, reading newspapers was a daily ritual for many people. Whether over breakfast or during the commute to work, flipping through the pages of the morning paper was how folks stayed informed about current events, local news, and more. Newspapers were a trusted source of information, offering in-depth reporting and analysis on a wide range of topics. However, with the rise of digital news platforms and social media, reading newspapers has become less common. Nowadays, people can access news instantly from their smartphones, tablets, or computers with updates available 24/7. Social media platforms like Twitter and Facebook also play a significant role in news dissemination, with many people tuning to these platforms for breaking news and updates. While some still enjoy the tactile experience of reading a physical newspaper, digital news platforms offer greater convenience and accessibility. They provide instant access to news worldwide, allowing people to stay informed wherever they are. It's a testament to the ever-changing media consumption landscape in the digital age.
Radio Shack has a super half-price deal now on an 8-track car stereo tape player. Regularly $59.95, now just $29.95.
Listening to 8-track tapes. Listening to music often meant popping an 8-track tape into the player. These bulky cartridges contain 4 sets of stereo tracks, allowing listeners to enjoy their favorite tunes without needing to flip the tape over manually. 8-track tapes were popular for their convenience and portability, but they also had quirks, like the occasional tape chew or sudden jump between tracks. However, with cassette tapes, CDs, and digital formats, 8-track tapes have become obsolete. Cassette tapes offered smaller sizes and better sound quality, while CDs provided even more precise audio and skip-free playback. Now, with digital music streaming services like Spotify and Apple Music, music lovers have access to an endless library of songs at their fingertips. While 8-track tapes may hold nostalgic value for some, they've largely been replaced by more modern and convenient formats. It reminds us how technology has evolved, shaping how we listen to and enjoy music.